Unchurned is presented by Update AI.
We're in business because of our customers. Our easiest source of growth is our customers. I think a lot of companies talk about that because it's a great soundbite. Like, of course, everyone does it, but actually doing it, I think, is a whole different thing. And I think a lot of companies struggle to do that. And so, early on, we said, hey, let's try to do all the best practice things. Let's make sure we know why people are buying us. Let's make sure we're tracking them through that process. Let's make sure that, the folks that are the key stakeholders are engaged with us both on a product level, but also on a company level. And those relationships, putting that time in now is going to pay off handsomely down the road as we continue to grow and scale.
Humans are expensive, right? We don't necessarily want to replace every human with tools, but we want to make sure that humans are doing what humans are good at.
Yeah.
What do you see as a differentiator for future CSMs? Not tools, not AI. Mickey can talk for hours on that, but what do you want the people to focus on this year in CS?
Josh dances. It makes us all uncomfortable.
That is a saxophone,
Takes my
right?
clothes off.
We hope that doesn't happen, Josh.
Hey, as long as it's below the waist.
Interesting.
What a great intro. That's where we're going to start this episode here of Unchurned CS and BS podcast.
The Pantsless podcast.
The Pantsless. Who's
Welcome
wearing pants?
Pantless.
Raise your hand if you're wearing pants. I'm wearing pants. John, are you?
I'm
John's
not.
not wearing pants.
Paul, I hope you're not.
Mickey's.
No, I was
not
told
wearing
explicitly. I was told
No
explicitly
pants.
not to wear pants.
Okay,
so.
great.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is actually the
Clearly,
cornerstone
Paul's
of
the
our
only one that showed up
go-to-market.
to really record today.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus
Well,
pants wearers.
listen, sex sells, and we need more viewership, so we'll go with that. Well, welcome everybody to.
It does. Well, okay. Hey guys,
on this audio podcast, we really need more viewership.
That's the end of season 1.
We actually get almost half of our listenership is viewership. Do you guys know that? That we have
on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. YouTube is becoming a major platform for podcasting. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So we should all look nice and have nice backgrounds like Kristi. She's always our guiding star.
Like Kristi.
I know Kristi's killing the background. Yeah.
She is.
She just did a whole refresh too. Her lovely husband.
You can't even see my signage or anything, but yes, my office is killing it.
Well, I'm Josh, founder and CEO of Update AI, least knowledgeable person about customer success on this podcast. I have with me Kristi. Faltorusso.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristi Faltorusso. Okay, all right. Let me do my own last name. Thanks, Josh. Okay. Kristi Faltorusso, Chief Customer Officer at Client Success. I've been in customer success for the past 12 years, building, scaling, and transforming customer success teams in B2B hypergrowth companies. Mickey.
We do this different every time. Every time.
I know. Every time. My name is Mickey Powell. For the next 3.5 days.
And I'm John.
I had to go to market at Update AI. I've spent the last 10 years in customer success, from leadership, operations, individual contributor roles, and I'm your local CS AI enthusiast and proponent.
Yeah. And I'm John Johnson, Principal Customer Success Manager at User Testing, and author of random newsletters at measureovermethod.com. I've been in customer success for 12 years, Mickey. I like to one-up him every time. We just keep adding it. But focused on enterprise and growth and all those fancy words. I totally went blank halfway through my intro.
Synergy.
So here we are.
Synergy.
I'm synergistic. Just fighting my way into that director's room, tooth and nail, every day. Just, dear
and
God,
we have a very special. I'm keeping the show moving, John. We have a very special guest. Well, they're always very special guests, but we have a guest I'm very excited to talk to today. We'll introduce him in a minute because he's a fellow startup founder, CEO, and we love startup founder CEOs. Cool. Yeah, nice guy. Seems like a nice guy. I met him 60 seconds ago.
Yeah, he's staring at us right now if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, so we're kind of obliged to say nice things, but that's okay. So before we introduce our guest, I do want to give Mickey the mic this is going to be Mickey's last episode with the CSMBS podcast. And Mickey, well, you kind of announced it a second ago, and then John just like trampled over it, like why don't you share Mickey?
He did.
do.
He did.
Like I normally
the
do.
whole thing.
Of the show.
He was so rude.
Oh, yeah.
So rude.
Yeah.
Trample over Mickey.
Yeah, Mick, what's going
I
on?
was thinking maybe I just don't say anything, and then I just don't talk as usual, and then
Nobody will
And then
notice.
just fade off into the abyss.
We'll just
and
keep
like,
introducing
never come
you.
back.
Yeah, I think that like it should be a murder mystery. No, anyway, so
He's going to Gone Girl us.
Yeah. So
Okay, Mickey, what's happening? Let's go.
I'm gonna be taking a career break. I'm departing Update AI, and as a part of that, I'm gonna be taking an indefinite leave from the podcast because really, I think it's in fantastic hands with Kristi and Josh and John, and so yeah, today's gonna be my last episode. So I don't want to make it all about me. Paul's here. I want to hear what he has to say. I'll add some snarky comments along the way, and then I'll fade off into the ether, as you guys all said.
Oh,
So sad.
Well,
I'm
I've already got
It
a bunch
doesn't-
of
but it
one
doesn't have
shots,
to be.
so we'll just hit. We've got little the things that you say, like the one-liners. We'll just pre-record them and we'll just hit them.
Oh yeah, that's right.
throughout the episodes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I like that.
like AI is the future.
No, I was gonna say even shorter. Can it just be like me just yelling AI just at the top of my
AI.
lungs? Yeah, no context, just AI.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna miss.
I will
I'm
tell
gonna miss
you,
from Mickey.
as somebody who was
Please,
just
Josh.
going to say that.
Please.
You go
Yeah,
ahead,
but Josh needs to make sure that anytime John's saying anything, that Josh cuts John off. So,
Yeah.
John, why don't you take the floor?
I have loved doing this with you, Mickey. Like, I mean it. Like, the guests have been great. Paul, hold on. We'll get to you. But no, really, Mickey, like, this has been, like, this last year has probably been one of the most fulfilling, like, outside work activities that I've had. And you've been a major part of that. So from
Thanks.
the webinars that we've done with AI and CS, from, hanging out in San Francisco at Pulse and in DC and all the other places that we've hung out. Like, I'm truly grateful for what you've put into this and to know you in the way that I do now. So we're going to miss you. And I'm so grateful that you're taking this break and that you're going to build into wherever you're going next. So
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Right.
whatever John said.
Yeah.
And then my last question is like, does Mickey out of the group chat? Like,
I
does
know,
the group
I'm
chat
questioning
dynamic
it.
change? Like, I just need to know, like, is Mickey out of the group chat?
Mickey's
this
That's
is going to be
for
like when we
Josh's
kicked
side.
Brandon
Mickey's
out.
in the
We
group
just
chat.
started
Josh
a
gonna
new
decide?
one.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right.
No, I'm gonna miss Mickey.
Which
I'm,
God?
I'm-
I don't know.
Mickey is surprisingly quiet on this podcast. Mickey actually has a lot to say and is not afraid
Yes.
to air what he wants to say. And Mickey has very intentionally taken a backseat on this podcast because, talent, respect talent. He sees you, Kristi and John, and he doesn't want to get in the way of
He's like Santa, like he sees me
Yeah.
when I'm sleeping.
So he doesn't say much on the podcast, but when he speaks, it's a whole like, most interesting man in the world thing or whatever that is, right? That Dos Equis, when he speaks,
I'm like
He's
Silent
somebody-
Bob.
Yeah, he's Silent Bob. Yeah.
When he
So
speaks, we
it's
cut him
profound.
off.
It's profound. I was looking for the word. It's profound.
It is.
No, it is. He always
is.
he always has great ideas and he takes it to another like perspective. So anyways, Mickey, thank you for, joining us on all these episodes. And as far as Update AI goes, you know that you're part of the family. You'll forever be a part of the family. And you and I were talking, a couple hours ago about this, where you've helped us level up over the past year has just been so profound. Again, that word profound, because it's true. And I'm deeply grateful for it. I'm choking up here because my relationship with Mickey means a lot. And Mickey means a lot to me. And I really do appreciate everything that you've done for the podcast, for the company, for me over the past year since I really got to know you.
Appreciate it. With that,
I vote to.
Yeah, Paul, how do you feel about
leave
Mickey?
in the chat because it's got real sad and awkward. So
Yeah,
I think we leave Mickey in the chat because I don't want.
Right.
Otherwise, it feels like a big breakup, and I think it's completely unnecessary. Anyway, Paul, how are you?
Yeah,
I'm great. How do I follow that? That was so kind. That was so nice.
I know it's so awkward and uncomfortable, Paul. It's fine. Just jump in. Just what would you like to talk about today, Paul?
We need to. You guys,
Who are
have
you?
not learned. You
Who's
still
this
have not
guy?
learned. Neither you nor Kristi nor John have learned. You need to do last names. People don't know who Paul is. Can we do a proper
We're not
intro?
there yet. We were
Holder.
joking around, Josh. So you have to get so serious. We didn't even
I thought we
intro
were
him. That wasn't
segueing.
even a formal transition.
Okay, well, let's see what you
It
got.
was kind
for
of
the
a
intro.
joke segue.
Go.
This
Oh,
is
a
so,
serious
this is going so
intro
well,
segue.
guys.
Kristi.
Josh, would you like to introduce our guest?
No. I want you to.
Paul Holder, I'd love to welcome you to the show, CS
Thank
and
you.
BS.
Mostly
we are
BS at
thrilled
this
to
point.
have you. Just mostly BS. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself
Wait.
to our
Time out.
wonderful
Time out.
audience.
Paul,
What?
Paul,
See,
don't tell us
gosh.
you
about
can't
yourself.
tell her to do it and
Here
then correct her.
Because she doesn't know who he is. Paul or Kristi.
I do know who he is. He's
Okay,
the
but you have
co-founder and
to-
CEO of OnRamp.
Well,
He's
then
been
you
at
say
Troops,
that.
which is one of my favorite products before
One of
Salesforce
my favorite
acquired them.
products.
Right, like so. I'm sorry, I wanted him to tell because I think him saying it is better and more profound than me rambling off some letters and titles and whatever.
In this podcast, the hosts fight with each other.
Can you see what you're going to be missing?
It's violent. It's violent.
Okay, Paul, over to you.
Anyway, Paul, tell us a little bit.
This is the worst one so far, guys. This is
Or
Or
is
the
it the
most
best
special
one? I think it's the Paul. It's the best one.
oh
It's
man.
the best one.
I'm
I
obligated
love you
to say
guys
that.
so much.
But yeah,
All right, Paul. Tell us about yourself.
I am Paul Holder, yes, CEO of a company called OnRamp. I've had 50 years in CS. No, just kidding.
Yes. It just has to be a number bigger than 12. Any
Yeah,
number bigger than
Geriatric
12.
CSM
works.
over here.
But I went with 50.
Yeah.
About a decade in customer success, including before starting OnRamp, leading customer success at Troops, which it sounds like some of you here
Oh,
know
huge fans.
well. So I don't live in New York anymore. I'm in Boston, but remember my Troops experience very fondly. And yeah, I'm excited to be on the show today with y'all.
Well, we'll see how excited you are at the end of this.
We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, we'll be the judge of that.
He's wondering why his EA doesn't really vet these things
Yeah,
before
seriously.
agreeing to doing. Someone's getting fired later.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Paul, why'd you start OnRamp? Paul,
There are
tell us
no
about
segues,
what is
Paul.
what is OnRamp? What is OnRamp?
OnRamp is it's a customer success based tool, but it is a platform for drastically helping the customer onboarding and activation experience. That was both at Troops and previously at a company called VTS, where I met my co-founder Ross. Actually, we realized that the onboarding process is such an integral part and critical part of customer success and adoption, and yet the tools we were using were quite primitive to try to manage that. So we went and we built something to make our customers' lives happy, and most critically, their customers' lives happier and better. So exactly.
There's also an
Paul, what were
inverse
some of the
correlation.
shortcomings that you...
No,
Go,
Kristi,
Josh.
please.
My turn. I'm
Kristi,
gonna go. I'm gonna
Kristi,
go.
you and I
Kristi
are
has
just
a
having a
speaking
moment
stick.
this episode.
Thank you.
After you.
Paul, what were some of the things that you saw as shortcomings, right? What was happening that you said, I got to fix this. This is a mess. I don't have the proper tech stack. I can't do what I need to do. What was that? What did that look like? What was happening?
Yeah, when you think about like top-down B2B onboarding, right? Like a lot of the tools that you try to use to manage that today are all internal facing. There are the Asanas, the Monday.coms, the Notions, and these are phenomenal. These are great tools. Like I'm sure you guys use them at Update AI.
Mhm.
You know, they're great. But they're really built for internal teams and internal management. If you try to like throw that to your customer, and you say, hey, go learn this new platform or new tool that you've never used before, and these things are getting really complex, they fall down. So what do you end up doing? You end up like using emails and you use spreadsheets and the tools that they know. And so we said, that sucks. Now you're managing like emails, spreadsheets, an internal tool. You're trying to manage the customer and their expectations, and you're trying to manage your internal team, and you have your CRM and your different tech stack. And you have all these things floating around, all getting in the way of like getting the customer on and live and adopted. And so we said, hey, we did the classic, there's got to be a better way. And so our experience at my experience at Troops and VTS turns out that's the experience of many both software companies, but even more interestingly, non-software companies like Anheuser-Busch, CVS, Cardinal Health are customers of OnRamps, which is really cool. And so we built this kind of two-sided platform where on one hand, the internal teams get they get the templates, they get the workflows, they get all the reporting, all that great stuff. But we create this white labeled, beautiful kind of customer experience that's bespoke to what that customer needs to do and how they need to do it in a way that they've never had before. That's super easy, keeps everyone aligned, keeps the process moving. It's all sunshine and roses, you know.
What's your favorite part about that customer portal experience? Like, what's the part that you're like, oh, I love this little piece, this way that it works, or this feature?
Yeah. Great question. You guys have used TurboTax, I'm sure, right? Like you get taken step. We all don't love Turbo. Maybe it's a bad example because, you know.
No, it's like the premier example of when you're trying to explain that like you don't have to have an accounting background and even you could do taxes. Like it's done. Yeah. Okay. Nobody likes it. But it does,
I thought you were going to say you pay lobbyists in DC billions of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah.
The only reason that this economy exists is because.
The reason I bring that up is because we have a similar kind of step-by-step guided workflow tool where a customer can go in, they can sign a document, they can upload data and information, they can get approvals, they can get communication, all this, like we call it a TurboTax-like experience because it's a very simple step-by-step. Here's how I tie my shoes 1 through 4. And that's really cool to see, like, the end customers go through that and be like, oh my gosh, you made it really easy for me. And so this idea of this kind of workflow, this automation is something that, you know, is kind of unique to us and why we get excited to do what we do every day.
Cool. So you started an onboarding platform for customer success. It makes a ton of sense because onboarding is, if you don't do proper onboarding, you're not going to have a proper customer, right? Like the rest is just going to follow from there. So I understand that. There's a bunch of onboarding platforms in the space. Kristi, what's the one that you guys just acquired?
Status.
And so, how do you feel about that, Paul? Like, you know, founder to founder, like, and all the listeners, what do you feel like, you know, is like the differentiation for you? All 7 listeners, like, and how do you feel about like, you know, a little bit of, it feels to me like a little, I mean, there's some good competition out there, right? Within onboarding, within CS for a market size that maybe is not a, you know, $100 billion market size. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I would disagree with that actually.
Okay, good.
Respectfully disagree with that.
Yes.
So I think there's two things. There has been some, like, this has become a category. And on one hand, right, like we could say, oh, that sucks. Like there's competitive entrants. On the other hand, I think when you start to look at a category, you look at, okay, if somebody's searching for my piece of software or my thing and what I'm doing, if I'm the only one out there, like, is it really a thing? And so, you know, in some ways, you know, we, frankly, as you know, maybe a slightly less well-funded than some of the other guys, we've appreciated some of the lift that they've given us from a category perspective. But I think why I would disagree with you is because actually I think the word, every business does customer onboarding in the world, right? And like, you know, I think a lot of these other tools really strictly focus on software and other venture-backed startups. And I think what OnRamp is kind of approaching this as is like, no, this is onboarding for all. And certainly there's use cases where software doesn't solve a particular onboarding problem. But I think what's been really great for us to see and why we get so excited and we don't get dismayed by competitors, for example, is because we think the opportunity is so massive. And that's what our customers and prospects are kind of telling us.
So who are your ICPs, your ideal customer profiles in that sense? I mean, you mentioned CVS. They're not necessarily, they've got a huge digital group, but
Anheuser-Busch. Like, I mean, you dropped a bunch of names that we wouldn't traditionally hear in VSAS. So I think I'm really interested in those use cases.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just to give a couple examples, right? Like, Anheuser-Busch, they work with thousands of distributors and retailers, you know, of course, 7-Elevens, Targets, all the beer distributors. Anheuser-Busch has a unique position where they have the power to say to these retailers and distributors, hey, like in order to order through our system, like we're going to dictate how you do that. And we're going to dictate the means in which you do that. And to facilitate that transaction, they're using OnRamp to do that as an example, right? At CVS, another great example. They work with these specialty pharma manufacturers, you know, specialty drugs. You think about like really rare diseases. Manufacturers need to work with CVS to get in the pipeline of a CVS and ultimately distributed to all the pharmacies, right? They're using OnRamp to facilitate all the steps needed and required to do that. And so, yeah, there's software touches everything, right? So a lot of, almost all customers we have software or some digital component to it. But yeah, onboarding could mean a customer, it could mean a vendor, it could mean a partner, it could mean a reseller, right? There's like multiple ways in which this onboarding concept can take flight. And so, what we found that's been so great is what we're doing really kind of spans a lot of those use cases.
Yeah. I would love to learn a little bit about what it was like at Troops personally.
Yes.
You were there during a time of hyper growth and you were leading CS.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that experience, and maybe for people that aren't as familiar, what Troops is all about.
Yeah, Troops now a Salesforce company.
A Salesforce
right?
company, yeah. Like
now
everybody
a Salesforce
else.
company. Yeah. Do you guys know Scott and Dan directly?
I met Scott at a lunch in Miami.
At a lunch that sounds spot on.
Yeah. They actually, so they let me into it was a breakfast, but they let me into the breakfast. I was the only active founder that was in the breakfast. One of my investors invited me, but it was for post-exit founders that had basically all moved to Miami, where there's no, state tax, and they have
Wait, are you serious?
breakfast together.
Well, how do
and
I
it's
get
like the
invited to
life.
I know. I want to go to Miami.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
it.
cold here in New York.
Exit a startup, and you get to move to Miami and have breakfast at a country club with other founders every month. That's it. So that's where I met Scott. Seemed like a nice guy.
Good deal. Oh yeah, really great guy for sure. Yeah, it was a crazy time. So Troops, for those unfamiliar, is kind of a connector between Salesforce and Slack. So the idea was, hey, wouldn't it be great if our CRM could be conversational? Like nobody likes going in and making our update. Sales teams, we hate going in and making updates to our CRM. It's not particularly insightful. It's not particularly proactive. What if we change that? No, by the way, where that's happening more and more is in Slack. And we all could debate the pros and cons of Slack, but it's obviously
Yes, we could.
It's here to stay. And Teams or Slack or whatever, they ended up integrating with Teams, as I'm sure you can imagine. But yeah, I was there in a period where not only OnRamp in some ways, like we were seeing a really steady growth of these kind of smaller, cutting edge companies mixed with what ended up becoming larger kind of enterprises. And from a customer success perspective, that became a challenge because it's like, we're a small team. I had a team of like 2 or 3 at the time or whatever it was. It's like, how do you bifurcate the resources to accommodate, hey, this backbone of the business compared to these deep relationships that you want to be forming with these bigger companies and recognizing those new opportunities. So that was kind of, for me, jumping into the deep end. Prior to that, I had just been doing kind of the onboarding thing. So that was a huge learning experience. And Dan and Scott were incredible mentors, as we navigated that. And yeah, obviously they had the exit to Salesforce.
What did you take out of?
So what? See, every time, Josh, we just always. I'm going to start raising my hand.
Connection.
I'm just going to start raising my hand. You said you had a couple.
Sorry.
of CSMs
Wait,
on the
how am
team.
I getting?
What
How am
was
I getting
your-
shamed? How
What?
am I getting shamed for this interaction? Because I was probably a good third of a second before you.
Well, but not to me. To me, I was a third of a second before you.
Oh,
So there's a delay here.
Oh,
It's
there
fine.
is.
You have a
Oh,
question?
so that's why. Got it. Because I keep on
Yeah.
wondering why Kristi's
Yep.
getting upset with me. I'm like, Kristi, I'm beating you to the punch. But no, it's because we each think that we're ahead, that we have the pole position. Okay, now I
Yeah.
understand. Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
I'm glad
carry
we
on.
had that talk, Josh.
Yeah.
So, Paul,
Who's
could
further
you
ahead?
explain? I would love to understand what, how did you run your CS team? You were the director. You got a promotion there, I see. Walk me through a little bit of what this type of tool looks like from a retention and a growth standpoint on the CSM side.
I took my time at Troops. Yeah. So kind of how we structured the team was we said, hey, for our smaller customers that are paying us a few $100 a month or, a few $1,000s a year, how do we scale adoption programs? Like the great thing about Troops, the unique thing about Troops was it's one of these tools that cool, I can connect these two things together. What the heck do I do with that? And what are the best ways to do it? That was kind of unique to Troops. So we did a lot of work to really focus on use cases, bringing it to life, making people feel specific pains and saying, hey, even if this exact workflow or this exact thing doesn't apply to you, it at least resonates with you to spark an idea. because that was the biggest thing. Like, and if you know anything about the Troop story, the closed one gong was like the shining light use case. Who doesn't like you win a deal in Salesforce, it celebrates in Slack, everyone rallies around that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You obviously can't build a big business just around that. But, it went 10 layers deeper, and we said, hey, both for sales and CS teams that are using Salesforce every day, what are the triggers that you need to know? Like, what is it you're not getting today? What are you manually updating today that could just be circulated another way? And how can we make it easy to do those, review and pipeline and updates? And I say all this because we really structured the team in a way to focus on bringing those use cases to life and try to share that library across all our teams. Because trying to go hand-to-hand combat with every single customer would have been a big challenge. Now, working with, Slack was one of our customers actually at the time. We could pay a little bit more attention and really dive deeper into their specific use cases. So we, put our resources in that direction when the dollars made sense to do so. But yeah, we really just focused on obviously onboarding and adoption, getting those use cases live and making sure folks were getting value out of those and updating them appropriately as their business and their RevOps stack changed.
I love that. And just to bring it current to where you're at right now, obviously that's a transition, right? Director of CS into CEO and co-founder, right?
Well, that was the path I thought I was on.
We all thought we're on that path, Kristi.
Take a right
but
turn somewhere.
that's another podcast.
Podcast host, CEO.
Are you not the
CEO? That's what I know.
but are you not the CEO?
I am hardly the CEO of this podcast.
No. But of Kristi Faltorusso Enterprises, I think you're the CEO.
I am the CEO of myself. Yes.
Yes.
You have an enterprise.
Although I'm sure my husband would disagree.
We can just ignore them for a second. No, but curious how what you did and what you built from a CS standpoint at Troops transitioned into how you view the organization that you're building right now. Kind of give me some of the threads, right? That's as broad as I'm going to make it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I think it's the classic, maybe it's cliche in the CS world, I get it, but like really putting the customer at the center, of everything that you do. I think if you have someone who's just a CEO that's just an engineer or somebody who's just done sales or something like that, oftentimes their strength lies in different areas. I'd like to think, with my background, what we try to structure OnRamp was by saying, hey, the customer, we're in business because of our customers. Our easiest source of growth is our customers. And, we should really do everything in service of our customers. And I think a lot of companies talk about that because it's a great soundbite. Like, of course, everyone does it, but actually doing it, I think, is a whole different thing. And I think a lot of companies struggle to do that. And so what we've tried to do is really say, hey, let's really key in on why our customers purchased early on, we said, hey, let's try to do all the best practice things. Let's make sure we know why people are buying us. Let's make sure we're tracking them through that process. Let's make sure that, the folks that are the key stakeholders are engaged with us both on a product level, but also on a company level. And those relationships, putting that time in now is going to pay off handsomely down the road as we continue to grow and scale. So I think it's just that lens is like different than maybe what some other folks get. And so anyway, that's kind of how we approach things here.
Why are people buying you? So when you go to customers, it's a serious question, outbound or inbound. Like,
no, I love it.
When you identify, I don't have a way with words, John. When you identify, like, what's that killer hook? It's actually not what I want to say, because that's a solution. What's the killer pain that you're solving for them?
Yeah. I mean, and especially over the past year, I think this was always true, but especially over the past year, people are saying, oh my gosh, this onboarding process is really complex and we're throwing people at the problem. And I love people, but people are really, really expensive. And what's happening is our customers are getting a really shitty experience. They're getting, they're not just working with one person from my customer. They're getting bombarded by 3 or 4, by SEs, by CSMs, by account managers in SaaS, in non-SaaS. It's operations teams. It's a billing and credit team. It's a review team. Like, it's incredible how the complexity of the org gets shunted on the brunt of the customer. And so when they come to us, they say, wait, we need to simplify and streamline this in a couple ways. One is we need to make it dead simple for our customer, as I kind of alluded to before. But 2, we can't just keep throwing people at the problem. And so if OnRamp can help automate, streamline, make us more efficient, and give us visibility across what's happening across our various product segments, that's going to be a huge win for us. And oh, by the way, for many of our customers, if you can take our onboarding down from 3 months to 2 months, that's the easiest 5% bump to our bottom line that we're going to have as a business. So like, let's go. Right. So that's kind of what people come to us and they say, process needs to be better, but also like, I can't just keep throwing people at the problem. So help me not do that.
Yeah. No, I love that. And just as a comment, Josh doesn't like it when we swear on the podcast.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's a joke,
Yeah,
Paul. Please don't
Yeah,
ever
keep
listen.
it fucking PG.
We
Fuck
talked
you,
about no
John.
pants, you know.
Yeah, I know. There it is. No, that's what I wanted. I wanted.
You know, that was the vibe.
We can have no pants, but the cursing, it really.
Yeah,
we need-
Okay, a little bit back on track. One of my favorite things that we did last year is we kind of talked a little bit about like what we see as the future of customer success, right? And you are in a unique position where you're literally building a tool that is either run by CS teams or supporting CS teams in the long run, right? So you also said something in the last line, you know, humans are expensive, right? We don't necessarily want to replace every human with tools, but we want to make sure that humans are doing what humans are good at.
Yeah.
What do you see as a differentiator for future CSMs? Not tools, not AI. Mickey can talk for hours on that, but like, what do you want the people to focus on this year in CS and stop fighting to let the AI overlords take over?
Yeah, but I think it's an interesting point you brought up, but you know, that I think is right, is that the goal is to not eliminate people. I think
Right.
that's the bet. That doesn't make sense.
Well, it's not our goal, but
sure. Well, yeah, but you know, even our goal, you know, is not to do that. It's to elevate people, right? Because what people shouldn't be doing is cat herding and wrangling and communicating all this project management with all the like PMPs and all that's wonderful and great. But I'd like to think, how can we get CS people elevated in the conversation and closer to revenue? Is like that's my biggest thing. Is like, I think CS is still viewed very much as kind of a cost center and how many people do we need to support this number of customers? And I think like really, you know, what teams are starting to wake up to and what we're going to continue to see is, where's your growth coming from in 2024? By the way, it's slowing on the new logo side. Times are hard. So CS now is going to be the star of the show when it comes to like customer growth. And those relationships are more important than ever. I'm really excited about like where these people are going to take their relationships and be more front and center in the orgs that they're a part of. I think it's been happening, but I think you're going to see that accelerate in 2024.
Gosh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Kristi, what do you got?
Well, I want to know more about your experience transitioning from a director of customer success to a co-founder.
Yeah.
Right? Like as that professional transition, I'm most interested in that. So talk to me a little bit about what that experience looks like. You went from running teams, that acquisition with Salesforce, into then starting your own company. What were some of the experiences, challenges, things that you're navigating, learning curves? Because unless you went to co-founder school, which Josh clearly did not, I'm just curious how you prepared yourself for that.
Is there any way to prepare yourself?
I have no idea. No, I'm not a co-founder. I'm asking you, Paul.
No, yeah, that's the question into the void. I'm screaming into the void.
Somebody prepare me.
Somebody, yeah. I was hoping you guys would have the answer for me. Yeah, exactly. No, it's a great question. It is vastly different, right? Like sitting in a functional role is very different than being the person that now is responsible for the functions, but also managing a board and like managing investors. And you know this going into the co-founder journey, you know this. Like of course, like hypothetically, or you know when I talk to Dan and Scott and they talk about to take the troops example, and they talk about all these things, I'm like, cool, yeah, that doesn't seem that hard. Like, cool, that'd be easy. Like I could totally do it. And then you actually get into it and you're like, holy crap, there's so many moves spinning plates at any given time. I think to prepare myself, I mean, like most people, I think getting a really good mentor is really important, right? Like surrounding yourself with other founders, people who've gone through the same thing, kind of commiserating and like, sharing successes and saying, hey, this thing that's on fire, is it actually a fire that needs to be solved? Or is it just a soup du jour that like will blow over? Being like, figuring out like where to raise that flag and not raise that flag has been something that like I have, that's been a learning for me, certainly. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is a difference, between, leading a functional area versus leading an entire company. And I'm still learning every day on how to best do that, right? But hey, jump into the deep end. My favorite way to go.
I really like the shade of purple blue on your website, onramp.us.
Thank you. I was supposed to have the background. I have a lame background, so I apologize. This is like my
Deep.
crappy home office. It was supposed to be the cool purple and blue. Most people like it, but thank
I
you,
like it.
Josh.
It's a very, I don't know. It's just a sharp shade of purple blue.
Thanks. I had absolutely nothing to do with that, but yeah, I'll pass the kudos along.
Cool. Well, Paul, it was awesome learning about your journey with OnRamp and Troops and
Thank you.
the bridges in between and the lessons and whatnot. Thank you so much for being on the episode. I hope we probably did, but I hope we didn't scare you away from being back.
Oh, you did, for sure. Yeah, you definitely did.
Yeah.
He'll
I
never be on this podcast again.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing from his lawyers.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I will say before Josh just ends the episodes too, so he's probably going to cut me off right in the middle of this. But like your vibe plays really well into like our like vibe as well. So I feel like it's a good match. You're a great guest. You have great energy. I love everything that I've read about your products, and it is absolutely solving a problem in the market. So
thank you, John.
Thank you for what you do. And I really, really wish you the best and success and a happy exit. So you can go back down to that cafe or whatever in Miami and hang out with Josh some more. Right?
That was
Josh isn't invited there.
Yeah,
Josh got kicked out.
Yeah. No, you guys, I appreciate it. Really, you said, yeah. You guys are a lot of fun for sure. So I'm happy to help out in any way, and wish Update AI the best, of course. So founder to founders.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
All
right,
Mickey.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Bye.
Mickey,
what's the last word for Mickey?
Yeah, take us out.
AI.